Hello, I'm Adam Rowe, and this is my independent project proposal. So my role and project aim is to create an online resource to aid professional footballer transition into post-career opportunities. So why football is a sport I have been very passionate about from a young age, and I find it very disappointing and upsetting to see media coverage of players who've retired come into life situations which impact them negatively, such as depression, alcohol use, drug use, and being in financial debt. So there's a few examples of this on the screen. One being Paul Merson, who I picked out, who was a long-term alcoholic, and with help, he managed to change his life around, and is now a professional pundit. And I feel with a program in place to stop this happening before retirement, so throughout their career, if they were learning about things, then these situations may have never happened in the first place. So a bit of background into career transition. Within sport and football, there are two types of career transition: normative and non-normative. A non-normative transition often happens through circumstances such as a major injury or the player not being good enough, so they get cut from the team. These are a lot harder to predict, and as such, they're harder to deal with often. A normative transition is something which is more planned out and is the normal thing, hence the name. And it's often down to things such as age and health factors like fitness. According to a resource, career transitions can be very stressful, and nearly 1 in 5 athletes experience distressful reactions following retirement, and many experience feelings of loss. This is obviously unacceptable, and the feelings of loss were generally related to the lack of pattern in their life anymore, from training every day to training in not at all. It's a big change, and there needs to be something to bridge the gap from the busy life to the less intense life. So the current environment, according to Browning et al. From 2012, career transition in sport is a rapidly growing area in the field of sports psychology. However, it also does state that research into a football-specific model is very limited, and so it will be slightly more difficult to produce a resource tailored towards footballers rather than athletes in general. But I feel like this is something that's needed because there is little research out there on it, and of all the media coverage footballers get, it's obviously an issue in the sport. There is support programs out there, such as the Athlete 365 program, and I think that's by the Olympic Committee. And although pre-retirement planning is one of the best predictors of a successful transition out of sport, many athletes actually choose not to use the services. That's according to North and Lavelle from 2004. This is basically due to the fact they don't want to focus on retiring when they're still playing, because they feel like it's going to take away from their playing ability. And this is why it's vital to highlight the importance of these programs. So some justification. Life transitions are considered as stressors which require adaptation, and adjustment. And these can influence mental health negatively. This illustrates the importance of having a plan. And since athletes are particularly vulnerable to mental health disorders, according to Rice, this shows there's a real need, particularly in sport, and for me in football, because there is a lack of research in that field. And since football is a sport which professionals will specialise in from a young age, they don't really know life outside of the game, and once they retire, it's like they're living in a brand new world, and it's hard for them to deal with. So the aim of this project is to create an online resource to aid professional footballer transition into post-career opportunities. In order to do this, it must be a user-friendly site and be able to help players through various reasons of transition. So a normative or non-normative, they could be 21, 31, 41, I don't care. This resource should be able to help everyone. Yeah, as I said, it should be able to help players finish in under a range of circumstances. And at the bottom there, there's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, which I found, and that's something which we'll look to follow also. So some objectives for the site itself: creating a professional resource that can be adapted to by players ending their career for different circumstances, easy to use, allow effectiveness to be measured in the future. So since there's little research, I want this resource to be one of the ones that can be used in research, and like so they can see whether the players that used it came out better or worse, and then hopefully they came out better off. And in the future, these sites become like the more normal thing. So my Gantt chart, initial research, I've done that. Developing aims and objectives and rationale justification proposal, that's all done now. Further research I've started, and then once I've done that, I'll do my literacy review, and then I'll evaluate the research, plan my resource creation, and then I'll actually create the resource once I've planned it all out and evaluated all the research I've gathered. Thank you for listening. That was my presentation.